afternoon. I'm Chris Brown. I am the tackles and tight ends coach at Southern University. This is the 19th, yes, 1-9 episode of Trill O-Line Play. We're going to be talking about defensive recognition as far as from an offensive line standpoint, breaking down for pass protection. All right, so thank you guys as always for taking a few minutes out of your day to discuss offensive line play with me, Coach Brown. All right, so let's dive into the overview of today. All right, we're going to break down defensive ID. We're going to break down defensive ID. We're going to have some game cut-ups of me drawing up on the screen of how we identify a defense for pass protection. And then we're going to conclude with our nugget of the day. So thank you guys again. Let's get right into it. All right. So defensive ID. All right. So the first defense that we're going to show is an even base defense that you always see, vanilla, Harry High School, all right, of what a defense is. All right. So this is an even front because it's 4 down, even number of defensive linemen. It's a 4 down front. We call it an even front. All right. Now, with that even front, the way that we identify a defense is we have a field and boundary identification for defense. All right. So this is the boundary side of the defense for this illustration right here. So you have your boundary corner right here. All right. And you have your boundary safety. All right. The boundary safety is always tied in with your boundary linebacker, who's your wheel backer. All right. You are field corner right here. And you have your field safety, who's always tied in with your star. Now, this is the tricky position of what the name is. We call it a star because in our league in the SWAC, this guy is usually a defensive back type caliber player and not a true linebacker. So we just identified this person as a star. Okay, so your star and your strong safety are always that field defensive. When we're talking about field boundary defense, you have a Mike backer who plays in the box, and you have your wheel backer who's your backside backer. Now, up front, again, it's a field and boundary defense. So our field defensive end, if we just call them an end. Our field defensive tackle, we call it nose. Our boundary defensive tackle, we call it tackle. And our boundary defensive end, we call a buck. Now, this buck is the person that kind of determines whether it's an even or odd front, because this buck is usually in today's football, college football, is a linebacker sized individual that rushes the passer and that can cover somewhat. All right, when we're talking about in pass coverage. Okay, so that's our even front and how we identify an even front. All right, your odd front. All right, there's a few little nuances and differences from an even to an odd front. Now, with the odd front, everything as far as on the top shelf of the defense is the same on your third level. All right. On your second level, what's different is your buck. All right. Now your buck comes off the ball and he may play 2 yards off the ball or all the way at linebacker depth. So your buck is your what? Boundary defensive end who's become a linebacker. All right. So he may not 85% of the time, usually he's just rushing the passer and he creates an even front at the end of the day. But when he's off the ball, we have to honor and call it an odd front. Your tackle bumps out, all right? He plays over the tackle, over the offensive tackle, all right? Your nose usually gets head up over your center, all right? And then your defensive end gets over the tackle, all right? So that's what makes it odd. You have a 3 down front now, all right? Your star, your Mike, and Will is still pretty much the same, all right? So that's our odd recognition when we're talking about an odd front, when we're talking about defensive recognition, okay? So let's draw up exactly what we just talked about so that you understand as a center, all right, on the offensive line, as a quarterback, the 2 smartest individuals on the field, when they're identifying a defense, what they see and what the quarterback has to see when we're talking about defense ID. So this will be a 6-man protection. It's an even front and it's a loop call. So that means that we're sliding to the left. All right. So you have your what? Field corner. You have your boundary corner. All right. You have your field safety, who's our strong safety. All right. And you have your star, who's what? We said that's our nickel Sam caliber body that rushes the passer, but also can cover fairly well. You have your what? Boundary corner, who's our free safety in our defense. And you have your boundary linebacker, who's your will. They're always what? Linked in with each other. And you have your Mike, who's your interior box linebacker. Okay. Now let's talk about up front defensive line. We said our field defensive end is called a what? End. Our field defensive tackle is called a what? Nose. Our boundary defensive tackle is called a what? Tackle. And then this what? Linebacker body guy, your boundary defensive end is called a what? A buck. All right. So that's how we would identify the defense. Now the center would ID this as an even front, and then he would set a point. So the point would be that Mike backer in pass protection. So he would set this guy as the point. All right. And then the offensive line will be responsible for these down linemen to the point to the plus side of the protection. All right, to +1. The running back is responsible for the -1 side of the protection back to scan. All right. And I'll get further into these details on another presentation about just ID with pass pro, but I really just wanted to talk about identifying defense, and then we'll get to the place where we're talking about like true pass protection and all those types of things. So that's kind of how we would identify a front. All right. If we're doing an even lieu with a 6-man protection. All right. Now let's talk about odd against a very, very tricky look that we got from Troy, our first game of the season. Okay. All right. Slight technical difficulties, but we're okay. All right. So let's talk about a look that we got from Troy this season. An odd look from Troy, and they did a great job of kind of disguising what they were trying to do. But because of what defensive recognition, we were able to pick up the pressure that they sent. So who's this? Our what? Field corner. Who's this? Our boundary corner. All right. Who's this? Our field safety. Who's the strong safety? Tied in with who? The star. All right. And who's this? Our what? Boundary safety. Who's the free safety? Tied in with who? The will. So where's that lead? The Mike. All right. The Mike is right here, walked up outside on the line of scrimmage. So that's our ID, and that's our point name. All right. And we said this is what the field in. We said that the nose is what? Your field tackle, but he lines up head up over the center. All right. You have your tackle here, who's your what? Boundary tackle lined up over the end, and you have your buck here right outside of your tackle. So we said that buck is what? A linebacker body and odd. So even though they have 4 defensive linemen on the line, because of their techniques, we have to consider and honor the fact that this is an odd front. All right. So again, we'll go into further detail as far as how we do pass protection, but I really just wanted to make sure that you guys understood how we identify defense. And I think the better that you communicate this as a full coaching staff and even as an entire offense with all the position groups, it'll be much better communication to pick up different types of pressures. Okay, so let's erase this. Erase this. All right. So because we did such a great job of identifying the defense, all right, we were able to pick up a pressure that Troy sent us. All right, where we said what? Let's talk about the protection in odd briefly. All right, so with odd, all right, the tackle and the guard, when someone is walked up outside the line, all right, on the slide side of the protection, they're automatically working out. Plus, this is our ID. So these guys have an automatic out call. All right, the nose is head up with the center. All right, the center always blocks the nose. All right, on the back side of the protection, they make an automatic out call because they have a man walked up on the line. All right, so we know that this is our point right here. So the running back has what? -1 from the point. So he's responsible for this defender right here. All right, so let's see how it plays out. And if these guys honor the rules that we have in pass protection. All right. All right. So they ended up sending a pressure right here, and they brought all those guys. They ran a twist with the linebackers in the ends, and we do a great job of picking it up. And the running back also did an outstanding job of picking up and understanding defensive ID. So he's able to block his guy. So that's a great job here by our running back, Devon Ben, and the center, Dallas Black. All right, and Ladarius here of identifying the defense so that we're able to get a successful pass out here against Troy in the first game of the fall. All right, so conclusion. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to discuss offensive line play with me. The nugget of the day is have a growth mindset. If you're in the field, if you're doing something that you enjoy, if you're doing something you don't enjoy, develop a growth mindset so that you're constantly trying to improve. I think the word is Kaizen. It's constant improvement when you're trying to get better and improve, all right, in your field, in your craft, and in other things in life. Like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel. If it's something that you enjoy, go ahead and repost it on your stuff, retweet it. All right, follow me on Twitter at Coach Brown72. But just share and spread the word. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys for following, for making it through this part of the presentation. Go Jags.